Welcome to class tonight. I do hope that you all are doing well and you had a great day. Now we're actually going to start tonight with a little review of what we did 2 lessons ago. Now you remember the words acute, obtuse, and right? Well, we're going to be using these words again tonight a lot. Now I do want to remind you the word acute means an angle less than 90 degrees. The word right means exactly 90 degrees, and then obtuse means greater than 90 degrees. Now we're going to be using these words along with several other words to classify triangles. We're going to be classifying them 2 ways. One way, the first way we're going to talk about, has to do with the angles, or the types of angles in the triangle. And then the other has to do with the sides, and specifically the length of the sides. Now let's go ahead and start with the angles. Alright, so our first triangle we're going to be talking about is what's called a right triangle. Now, a right triangle is simply any triangle that has a right angle. Simple as that. If it has a right angle, it is automatically a right triangle. Next, an obtuse triangle. Now, any triangle that has an obtuse angle is an obtuse triangle. And then finally, I'm sure you can imagine what the last classification is, acute. Any triangle that is made up of only acute angles is an acute triangle. Now I do want to point out that I see an acute angle here, and I see an acute angle here, and then here, and then here. But the most important thing is the fact that this has an obtuse angle. Because it has an obtuse angle, it is automatically an obtuse triangle. And then this one has a right triangle right here, or right angle, and because it has a right angle, it is automatically a right triangle. Regardless of whether it has 2 acute angles, an acute triangle is made up of all acute angles. Now, the way I always have practiced and told my students is go through the process and start with right. If it has a right angle in it, it's automatically a right triangle. If it has an obtuse angle in it, it's automatically an obtuse triangle. And then whatever's left is going to be an acute angle. Now let's go ahead and practice a little bit. I have a couple of triangles here we're going to be using. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and practice very, very quickly. Now the first one we see, I very clearly see a right angle right there. So this is going to be a right triangle. Now this one, let's come back to that one. This one right here, let's go do this one next. Oh, that's a right triangle, so that's good, or a right angle, so that's automatically going to be a right triangle. And here we have another right angle, so it's going to be a right triangle. Now here, I see an obtuse angle, so this is automatically an obtuse triangle. Same thing with this one right here. That is an obtuse angle. It's greater than 90 degrees, so this is going to be an obtuse triangle. Now these last ones, I don't see any obtuse angles there. I don't see any obtuse angles there. I don't see any right angles over there. So these are both going to be acute angles. And so there I went through my process and I figured out each of those and which classification they would belong to. Now we can also use one of the facts about triangles to find some missing angle. Now this is the very top of page 393, you see right here. This is the problem right there. Now we use the fact that all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So every single triangle you will ever find, if you were to add up the angles, the measure of the angles, every single one would equal 180 degrees. So this example right here, so we see this is a right angle, so that means it's going to be 90 degrees. We see that's going to be 20 degrees, and we're looking for that measurement right there. So all we have to do is recognize this. X plus 90 plus 20 is going to equal 180. Now, using my algebra skills, I would go x plus 110 equals 180. X plus 110 minus 110 equals 180 minus 110. So the answer is x equals 70. So this measurement right here is going to be 70 degrees. I figured that out because I know that all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. That is a very, very helpful thing. And the last thing we're going to be learning is that we can classify triangles by their sides, as I mentioned before, specifically the length of their sides. So the first triangle we're going to look at is an equilateral triangle. Now, an equilateral triangle means all sides are equal. Now, I'll give you a little hint. These little lines right there simply mean it's the same. They mean they're congruent sides. So the fact that this, and then all three sides have that little line mean all three sides are congruent, or they are the same. The next one we're going to be learning about is called an isosceles triangle. Now, an isosceles triangle means that two of the sides are equal in length. So once again, you see those little lines right there on two of the sides. It means those sides are congruent, meaning the same, but this side is not congruent, so it's not the same. So an isosceles triangle has two sides that are equal. Finally, I'm sure you can imagine once again, the last triangle we're going to be talking about is called a scalene triangle. Now, a scalene triangle simply means no sides are equal. So you see on this, none of the sides have those lines, so all sides are different lengths. Now, and so that is how you would classify. So all triangles would fit into one of those three categories. Now let's go and practice. You'll see these are very, very similar to the other ones, to the other triangles. Now we see this triangle right here has same sides right there, so we'd call this an isosceles triangle. Now this one actually has all sides equal, even though it doesn't look like it. All sides are going to be equal, so this is going to be called an equilateral triangle because all sides are equal. This one is very clearly an isosceles triangle because we have two sides equal there, so it's going to be an isosceles. This one, oh look at that, no sides are equal, so it's going to be called a scalene triangle. Now this one right here, I would also say that this side and this side are both equal, so we're going to have an isosceles triangle here. This one, once again, all three sides are different, so it's going to be a scalene triangle. And then finally, this side and this side are the same, but this one's clearly not the same, so that's going to be an isosceles triangle. Now, tomorrow in class, we're actually going to be learning how we can combine the classification of the angles with the classifications of the sides. So that's what we're going to focus on in class tomorrow. But I just want to make sure you understood this right here. Now there are some great practice questions in the book, and I would definitely encourage you to check those out. I feel as the ones that we've done in class, we've done on this video, should be the most helpful for you. Well, thank you for your attention tonight, and I do hope this makes a lot of sense. Please bring any questions tomorrow, as well as, and this will be your homework, page 394, 1 through 15 odd. Page 394, 1 through 15 odd. Once again, have a wonderful night, and we'll see you all tomorrow all in class tomorrow.